Scene one, take one.
From the land of swimming pools and movie stars, it's Harrison. Harrison Does Hollywood.
Was so unusually sort of charming, touching, funny, sad. It had everything in it. It had extreme tender relationships. It was just filled with a marvelous conglomeration of heart and bravery and all sorts of similar things. And I thought, what a wonderful script. And then I found out that it was his story of his own family, and that the part I was to play was his father. And I thought, oh my God, that's going to be difficult, because he's going to insist that I do certain things that I couldn't possibly know his father did. And he said, absolutely not at all. You must be as free as you must be yourself, and as free and as you can. And don't worry about imitating my father. I'll come in every now and then and say he did this or that, and throw in a few suggestions. So I thought, yeah, what is it? We practically beginning already, and this was still on the telephone.
Award-winning actor Christopher Plummer on his role in the movie Beginners. Christopher Plummer has long been one of the most respected actors in both theater and film. Won 2 Tony Awards for the musical Cyrano and for the play Barrymore. Nominated 7 times further, most recently for King Lear and Inherit the Wind. Has been doing this for decades and decades under some of the greatest directors ever, including now Mike Mills in the movie Beginners. Christopher Plummer, you're no stranger to really a wide spectrum of acting, whether it's the Pink Panther movies or working with Sidney Lumet. Here you are now playing a gay father to a son like Ewan McGregor. You throw in a dog. There has to be a lot of intuitive acting and almost improv to pull off this kind of family dynamic, but I imagine it had to have been a good time.
His instinctive behavior on the set was so professional and so easy and comfortable that it wasn't like acting at all in front of the camera. We just were. And every now and then he would ask us to ad lib if we needed to do that to make the situation look more spontaneous, and we did. It was one of the most pleasurable movies I've ever made. And I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting here. It's very, very personal. It's also universal. It reaches everybody. Everybody in the audience at one point has had some sort of problem like this, and it's rather heartening that it's dealt with in a positive, light manner, rather than a heavy, plodding, self-pitying kind of way.
And to your point, everybody gets a chance to reboot their life no matter where along the timeline we are. And I guess that's really the ultimate take-home message.
Everyone has to begin again. They've inherited qualities from him and the mother. But Ewan has to begin all over again. He has to form a relationship with a dog that his dad left behind. And he has to form a relationship with his young girlfriend, played wonderfully by Mélanie Laurent. And so that is why it's called Beginners, because everybody begins again.
Actor Christopher Plummer on his role as Hal in the movie Beginners. Harrison with you. You're listening to Harrison on KPFK 90.7 FM in Los Angeles, 98.7 FM in Santa Barbara, 93.7 FM in San Diego, and 99.5 in Central California. Also streaming live, video streaming as well via Ustream via GoHarrison.com. Just go to our main page. You'll see the video there. Click the play button, and there we go. You can also get archives anytime through iTunes, keyword Go Harrison, as well as the archives anytime at GoHarrison.com or KPFK.org. Let's now talk to Mike Mills. He's the director of the movie Beginners. As we plop down on a couch to discuss what it means to direct what could be thought of as a pretty radical film in some parts of the world. Certainly has become very mainstream here in the U.S., but it's based on a true story. And, 2 great and important, well-known actors, make it 3 now, have had to recreate this guy's real life.
Mike Mills, you've directed a movie called Beginners. And I have to say that it is a profound movie, and you're going to help more people than you can ever imagine. Now, I tell you that as a witness. I am TW, which means that way. So I can tell you how inspired I was. And whenever an artist arts in a way that actually has positive fallout, that has a life force of its own that continues to replicate, then you've not only done something that's aesthetically brilliant, but you've done something that's humanly important. So I just want to acknowledge that.
That's really sweet to hear. I should just retire now. That's really nice to hear.
Well, and here you went to Christopher Plummer, you went to Ewan McGregor, and you knew in advance these guys could portray not only you as Oliver, but Christopher Plummer, Hal, as your father. And you knew that they would be able to pull it off, and they really did.
Yeah, well, and Christopher especially, probably just because he's born close to what my dad was, and there's something about men of that generation, their stoicism, their humor. Hal made perfect sense to Christopher right off the bat, so I was like really lucky in that. But also the thing you were just saying about like the positivity and all that before, I really feel like that's my dad's energy just running through the film, or not even just his, but like when someone does do something sort of brave and intense like that, and does put so much on the line, and does risk so much and overcome so much loathing, and our unwillingness to deal with all our confusion, that is the positivity. And I feel like I just sort of maybe, if I did do anything with it, I communicated it, but he generated it, Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And one of the take-home messages I got, and certainly sitting in the audience, is that we spend our whole lives trying to be congruent with our natures.
Yeah.
Trying to, figure out what is that. And then the major struggle is now you have to jump off the high dive into life and actually do it.
Yeah.
That's not easy for people.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we spend our whole lives trying to be congruent with the mainstream story of who we should be, in so many ways. It's so much easier. And even if you're an intelligent rebel, it's so easy to do that. It's much more comfortable. And in my dad's case, and my dad had so much reinforcement to not follow his true nature, from his psychiatrist who told him he'd had a mental illness, to friends he saw.
Mine tells me that a lot. Maybe a separate issue.
He hung out with people in gay bars in Portland after World War II that, you did get arrested. You did get put into mental institutions, and sometimes would deliver shock treatment, and it was, very different situation. But he embedded all that, he internalized all that fear and hatred, and took a long time. And like I was just saying, I'm not sure I said in that interview, in a weird way, it's even him coming out is very indebted to my mom in an odd way, because it was how, they were lifelong friends. They were friends for 60 years, even if their relationship wasn't a full, real romantic relationship. And her passing away, I think, really scared him on lots of levels, and made him eat the peach, made him jump for life, made him stop hiding,
And, when you're directing a film, you're a storyteller. That's what you do at the end of the day.
Yep.
And you're dealing with so many prickly evolutions in relationship, because parallel to this extraordinary transformation, and my grandfather at 78, and this was years ago, but he remarried at 78. And what you're showing people is that there's no such thing as never.
Yeah.
That at 75, 3/4 of a century, you can have a girlfriend, a boyfriend, you can totally be reborn.
Yeah.
This is something we sort of hear about. This is something that maybe Anthony Robbins tells you during a seminar. But you've shown us it's really real.
Yeah, and it happened to the most unlikely person. The person this happened to was quite shy and restrained and polite, and seemed like he was about to pass away, to be honest, after my mom did. So it could happen, the kind of change could happen at the most unlikely times. And then back to the story thing, I think Christopher, for whatever reason, maybe just Christopher has studied human nature for so long as an actor, but he got all that, and he embraced it in such a neat, unintellectual way. He was Hal. He's like, I'm hungry, I want this and this, and I'm not dying, and I'm cruising forward, and I have all these things that I need to do, that I desire, that I'm seeking out. And he just like embedded himself into that drive so nicely. My dad came out in Santa Barbara in '99, and it was a very benign place to come out. But I was just saying before, it's like been funny showing this film in all parts of America, and there's a place where it's not as benign to have this 75-year-old man come out. But then I've shown the film in a very enlightened, educated atmosphere, and it still can prick someone's fear, or prick someone's need to sort of make a semi-conscious jab at gayness, at difference, right? And that happens all the time with all kinds of people. We all do it. We're all susceptible to being afraid of otherness. And I think the more we all admit it, the more we're closer to really actually accepting it,
Well, if you'll accept an unsolicited compliment, it is truly, your movie, a soothing emollient to a particularly troubled human spirit, that we're all international issues and all the rest of it. This once again affirms that, we actually can cooperate, collaborate, and confabulate. And that was a triple alliteration.
That's
thank
great.
You so much.
That's going on the poster. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Out that it was his story of his own family, and that the part I was to play was his father. And I thought, oh my God, that's going to be difficult, because he's going to insist that I do certain things that I couldn't possibly know his father did. And he said, absolutely. We're practically beginning already, and this was still on the telephone.
Award-winning actor Christopher Plummer on his role in the movie Beginners. Now, Christopher Plummer has long been one of the most respected actors in both theater and film. Won 2 Tony Awards for the musical Cyrano and for the...
It had everything in it. It had extreme tender relationships. It was just filled with a marvelous conglomeration of heart and bravery, and all sorts of similar things. And I thought, what a wonderful script. And then I found, not at all. You must be as free as you must be yourself, and as free and as you can. And don't worry about imitating my father. I'll come in every now and then and say he did this or that, and throw in a few suggestions. So I thought, yeah, what is it?
Scene 1, take 1.
From the land of swimming pools and movie stars, it's Harrison. Harrison Does Hollywood.
Was so unusually sort of charming, touching, funny, sad.